Hi everyone, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a kind of different movie review today because I'm going to be reviewing a film that was recommended to me by one of my viewers. So this film is Maximum Overdrive. Let's talk about it. Okay, one of my viewers, Stephen Luther, we've had a bit of back and forth at time and a bit of chatting. Anyway, as I was doing my horror film list, he'd asked if I'd seen the movie Maximum Overdrive. This is probably based on the back of films like Christine, Car, those sort of things. I hadn't seen it. It's not a film that I was even aware of. So I said I would give it a watch and I'd give it a review, and thusly that brings us to now. So I had to get the film. I imported it from France. It only took a couple of days to get here. It was like €7. Yeah, like I said, it's a film I've never heard of, never been aware of. It's kind of like a mix between, like I said, Christine, Car, Jewel, with a bit of Smoking the Bandit in there, or Smoking the Bandit 2 with the amount of trucks that's in it. So anyway, so this film came out in 1986. It's got a runtime of 1 hour and 38 minutes with an 18 rating. Now it's kind of a horror stroke comedy type of a movie. The film is actually directed by Stephen King, based on and written for the screen by Stephen King, based on a short story. Now, when I first heard that part, that it was Stephen King who directed it, I was a bit wary because, I know what happened when comic book writer Frank Miller stepped behind the camera and he directed the film The Spirit after getting the directing bug during the making of Sin City by Robert Rodriguez, and he turned out to be not a very good director at all. So I was a bit kind of apprehensive going into this film for that very reason. We'll come to that. Now, the film stars Emilio Estevez as a character called Bill Robinson. And the setup for the film is basically the Earth. The Earth is passing through the tail of this comet, the Re-M comet that has passed by the orbit of Earth, and we're in its sort of glow, this green glow around it. And machinery all starts to come alive. Electrical machinery, things like vehicles, all this sort of thing starts to come to life, having a mind of its own, and starts killing humans, basically, goes on a homicidal rampage. And we're introduced to a group of people who are in this truck stop called the Dixie Boy. And they have to survive, basically. You've got a couple of other characters that are brought into the fray. You've got a couple who are on their wedding, they've just got married, and then you've got this young boy who's the son of one of the people inside the truck stop, who's out playing baseball, and he heads over there because that's where his dad is. So yeah, this film, I mean, okay, it's I knew what I was getting into watching it, because I'm not a huge fan of horror anyway, and I knew it was going to be sort of 1980s sort of schlock, cheesy, this sort of a thing, and in that sense it didn't disappoint. No, the film is it's what do I say? How would I really describe? Okay, where do I even begin? Emilio Estevez gives his best Emilio Estevez performance. I'll say that. The rest of the cast, people that I recognise from that sort of era of film, people I couldn't really name or anything like this. The direction by Stephen King actually quite impressed me. It wasn't bad. There were some camera shots, because I was looking at the direction, knowing that it was him and seeing how he handled it. Now, obviously, it tonally, like I said, it flits from being comedy to horror. So for me, that either one or the other. I mean, comedy and horror can mix. I've seen it in the Chucky films, but here it feels like you're bouncing between one and another, as opposed to having a horror film with an element of comedy in it. There's scenes like when this coach at the baseball match gets hit by flying soda cans out of a vending machine, and the way he's acting, he's getting hit in the stomach. It's like in a comedic take. Then when the boy approaches him, he's got this big hole in his head, and so it goes from being this sort of, you know, so tonally that kind of switch doesn't particularly work in that sense. All the stuff with the trucks look fantastic. Now, I'm a big fan of the film Duel. I remember the film Car as a kid, and it's a film I've got. Christine's a good film. Smokey and the Bandit with the trucks. I like big rigs. They've always sort of impressed me from a young age, the American big rigs that you get. You know, I wanted to be a driver of one when I was a young lad, on the back of like the Cannonball Run and Smokey and the Bandit. So those sort of big heavy machines I quite like the look of in an aesthetic way. So the film was pleasing in that sense. You've got your hero rig. I say hero rig, obviously they're villains, but it's got this big black rig with a green goblin face on the front that almost looks like Marvel could go over and sue them, because it looks like the Green Goblin, but obviously the Green Goblin face would be taken from something else anyway. I'm talking about how he looks in the comics. So that's your sort of hero rig in the sense in the film, your primary villain rig. So like I said, these people will get trapped, and you got the rig circling the truck stop, and they want to be fueled up and all this sort of thing. The characters, some people get killed along the way. Characters try to escape. Characters come in. Yeah, it's nonsense. Don't get me wrong. It's complete nonsensical film. Why it's occurring, how it's occurring, that sort of stuff doesn't particularly matter. It's obviously to do with, you know, this cloud that's surrounding the earth that I don't know. It's not really explained. But you know, for a 100-minute film, it's pretty good. It's enjoyable. It's a product of its time. It's a film that wouldn't set the box office alight, and it certainly didn't. But it's one of those films that you can tell would have this cult following. Now, the music within the film is completely done by AC/DC, the rock band. Now, I'm not familiar with their music. I'm not into that sort of music myself. But it was fine for the film. You know, it wasn't overpowering, it wasn't distracting, it worked in the sense of the film that you're watching, and I'm pretty sure for that reason alone the film would have a sort of cult status. So yeah, you know, it's a fun film with a fun time. Pacing wise, it is a bit up and down in places. It does lag at some points. The characters are sat around in humorous situations within the bar, like the bridal couple having a laugh. Emilio Estevez and his wannabe girlfriend, they're like playing cards, having a laugh, and I'm thinking, well, you're in this situation where you've seen people being killed and this sort of a thing happening, people being run over, and now you're having a laugh and you're okay with it, and it doesn't seem to be affecting you, the goings on outside. You have a bit with a bulldozer that's introduced, and this smaller sort of military vehicle with an attachment on top, a machine gun attachment that starts shooting people, and it starts communicating with them via Morse code. All completely nonsense, like I said, but fun nonsense nonetheless. Yeah, so all in all, it was an enjoyable film. It was an enjoyable just over 90 minutes when you take the title sequence off at the end, and something that I would consider watching again. This yeah, it wasn't bad, and you know, you're not going to get the image of this truck out of your mind anytime soon. That will stay with you. If you ever saw a picture of that, you'll be like, I know where that's from. It's very yeah, you know what I'm saying. That's not going to go anywhere. So anyway, so yeah, a pretty good film. Thank you, Stephen, for the recommendation. Yeah. Anyway, so now I'm going to give you some little trivia facts about the movie. Now, Stephen King has been asked, why haven't you ever directed a movie since this one? And his answer to that question is, have you seen Maximum Overdrive? So he's not a fan of it whatsoever. Now, Stephen King, he was a former cocaine addict, and he has admitted that the entire time while making this film, he was coked out of his head and had no idea what he was doing whatsoever. Now, I did mention before that the head of the truck looked like a Green Goblin, and it is actually meant to. It is based upon the Green Goblin from the Marvel Comics. Yeah, now a lot of the trucks in the film, they were borrowed from local businesses to use during the filming, and the businesses' names were still left on the sides of the truck, kind of advertising. And the last one for you, Stephen King, in his later times, has called this film a moron movie. Yes, so that just goes to show his his thoughts on it. Yeah, but all in all, a fun time. Probably a middle of the road movie. You know what I mean? As it is in what I'm saying is, it's like if I was giving it out of 10, it'd be like 5 or something like that. But not awful, not bad, a fun time. But yeah, so anyway, this is AJ. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Stephen, for recommending the film. I'll tell you what, if any of you out there have got a recommendation for a film for me to watch that I may not have seen, please let me know in the comments down below. Now, I will let you know that I'm not big on the whole horror genre. So those sort of films are really not overly interesting to me, and I struggle with them. And not my cup of tea, but please, if you do have any recommendations, stick them down below, and I'll do another a watch recommendation review at some point. Anyway, so this is AJ again. Please consider hitting the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Let me know your thoughts on this film if you've seen it. And yeah, I'll see you all later. Take care all, and goodbye.